Good afternoon. Welcome everyone to the what month are we? November? I should know that. To the November meeting of the 54th Senate of the Graduate Professional Student Government. I want to start off by welcoming our new senators. Can I get a raise of hands of those who it's your first meeting today? I know we have a few. Welcome. I think it was double mics. Sorry for your ears. Okay, I'll try that again. Welcome everybody who's new, and I see a bunch of people in the chat as well. Welcome, senators, to your first Senate meeting. I'm super excited to have you all here. We've got a fairly light agenda today, so I'm hoping that we can get in, get out, and get her done pretty quickly today. So because we do have the, if you saw my email, the State of the University address, which is going to be happening after this meeting today. I have all the details at the end of the PowerPoint slides, so we can talk more about that. So why don't we go ahead and get started? Cool. And I guess I did the call to order already. So I now call the session to order. Can I please see a motion to approve today's agenda? So moved. Do I hear a second? Second. Objections? Nice. Okay. So the agenda has now been approved for today. We are going to start with a couple of invited speakers that we have brought here today. I'm super excited that they're here to tell us a little bit more about a multitude of subjects. The first person we have here is Avery Cook, and I'll go ahead and welcome you up here. Do you want a microphone or a clip-on microphone? Okay, I'm going to turn this one off. So here, I'll stop sharing my screen so y'all can see better. Let me turn that off. Oh, there you go.
Hi. Just so you know, my little fuzzy friend here is Maya, who serves as a therapy dog at CAPS, but is not able to drive, so she has to follow me before she can go home tonight. However, she is easily distracted by sandwiches, and so may not be on her best behavior, but she's going to do her best. So I'm just going to tell y'all just a brief overview of sort of CAPS and who we are and what we do, just for those of you that may not be familiar with us, and then certainly have time for any questions y'all may have, or anything else that you'd like for me to cover. So CAPS we are the mental health treatment arm of the university. Yeah, I don't know what that is either. A little singing. Great. All right. All right, is that better? Can y'all hear me? Great, super. So CAPS provides a number of different services. We do initial assessments, brief therapy, group therapy, medication management, crisis intervention services, and referral coordination. There are always lots of questions about therapy at CAPS and a lot of sort of information and disinformation. So CAPS doesn't have any session limits. Lots of universities do. We haven't had session limits in probably going on 15 years now. What we do have is a model that we operate under, which is a brief therapy model. What that means is it's a type of therapy that is focused and by nature sort of time limited. It is perfect for issues that are emergent and things that haven't had treatment in the past. The majority of folks that come into CAPS seeking services fit under that umbrella. About 70% of people that come into CAPS seeking services are seen by us. There is a percentage of folks that have had treatment before, or that are coming in wanting to work on sort of multiple things that we want to help get connected into the community so that they can have the treatment that they need. She is laser focused on the sandwich. But in order to help facilitate that, we have some folks that serve as referral coordinators. Their job is to help folks get connected and overcome any barriers that there may be to treatment. So they can help work with insurance, they can work with transportation issues, they help folks call their insurance plans. And we also have some resources like the Well Ride program, which provides funding for Lyft rides to help folks get to treatment. And we have some funding to help folks who have financial need pay for treatment, either through copays or through helping pay down the deductible, depending on what their plan is. We would love to say that we can serve every student with every one of their mental health needs, but it's just not feasible with 30,000 students. We would need about 3,000 therapists, which they won't give me. I've tried. And so this model where we see folks in brief treatment, it reaches the majority of folks that we see. And then our goal is for folks that need more extended services to help make sure that we make that happen. We're in a real sort of therapy-rich community. So we've got over 300 folks on our referral book. Additionally, we have medication services. Folks can be seen for medication management throughout the entirety of their career here at UNC. So they can see someone on their first day of classes all the way through the very last day of their PhD program. We have a number of groups, some of which are targeted specifically towards graduate and professional students. We have some support groups, particularly our dissertation support group is incredibly popular and runs year round, and folks can be in that group for as long as they would like. We also have started back in 2020 an embedded counselor program. Right now, I think we are in 6 or 7 schools. I think the 7th one, which is getting ready to come on board on Monday, is one within the dental school. These programs are solely funded by the program they're housed in. So it's 100% funded. The dental school position is 100% funded by the dental school. We just take care of sort of all of the administration, and the person is a member of our staff and gets all of the sort of support needed from there. Any school that has come to us wanting to have an embedded counselor, we have said yes to. So it's been able to grow as quickly as folks have wanted to. I actually have a meeting, I think, next week with another school that's looking to add one. And that's been a great addition, particularly for graduate students, in part because those are places where we can have extended hours if that's something that's needed by the program, and the person's embedded in there so they get to know the students and the professors and sort of get to know some of the particular stressors that may be for that specific program. Other things, we have partnered with a telehealth service called Academic Live Care to help us expand our brief therapy offerings. In particular, that service is able to offer brief therapy sessions on nights and weekends. CAPS can only be open so long, but we know we have lots of students that have needs beyond 8 to 5, and we want to make sure those are available. So that is my Cliff Notes version of CAP services, aside from whatever it is that I forgot that was super important. But I would love to answer any questions that y'all may have or any other information that'd be helpful for me to provide. Yes.
I'm gonna run around with the microphone. Test. Okay.
First, just want to thank you for coming out. What could you maybe elaborate on what the process is for schools that maybe would like to just look into maybe having a dedicated counselor for their department?
Sure. So I would say if you are in a program that would like an embedded counselor, I feel like that would be helpful. Basically, talk to your administration. If they can come up with the funding and want to support the program, we're here for it. And then they simply need to reach out to us and say that the email I got this week was, hey, we're from such and such school. We'd like to have an embedded counselor program. And I said, great, set up a meeting and we'll get it rolling. And if the funding's secured, we can honestly start the process within a couple weeks. At this point, it goes really fast. Yeah. Yeah, of course.
Any other questions? Also, any questions on Zoom, feel free to raise your hand on Zoom as well. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
You said the funding comes from the schools, the departments that would like the embedded counselor. Do you know how they've come up with those funds in the past?
I don't.
Okay.
I think each school has gone about it a bit differently. I know one school had, it was either a professor or administrator who had been there a long time, who retired, and they basically said, we don't need this position anymore, so we're going to use that funding for an embedded counselor.
Mm.
Great. Other schools have just come to us having already established the funding. But what I've learned here is that each school is very unique and very specific and has their own like ecosystem that I cannot understand. So yeah, but schools can also come to us and say, okay, how much is this going to cost? What is it going to look like? And we can also like have those meetings and give them some pretty specific ranges so they know kind of what they're going to need. And beyond that, all we need is office space in the area, and then we're good to go. When we start a program, we work with the school to sort of identify what kind of qualities are you looking for. There's usually someone from the school that's a part of the search process, and the school itself is usually part of the search. So we try and fit it as best we can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. This is Joshua Bakita from Computer Science. Another follow-up on the embedded counselor question. About what sort of range of, so some of us work very closely with the administration of our departments or schools, and it can be helpful to have some specific ideas of what sort of orders of magnitude in terms of dollars we're looking for if a school program is looking for an embedded counselor. Could you perhaps give sort of a upper lower type of range on what type of annual cost that would look like?
So I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm going to tell you why I'm going to get it wrong. The salary range is usually somewhere between 65 and 75. But what I get wrong or what I don't know is the salary, the benefits. So there's whatever insurance costs and all of that. I always forget that number, and literally every time have to call our business person and say, hey, Kim, I've completely forgotten that number. Like Nemo, it won't stay in my head.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions up here?
Thank you for coming again. So at the Gilling School of Public Health, we have an embedded counselor from the CAPS program, but I know that she's on extended leave currently.
Yeah.
And just I don't want to like reiterate past events, but what are some ways that when there's not a counselor available that students would be able to utilize these CAPS services?
Sure. So the easiest way, there's sort of two ways. So for Gillings in particular, I believe we've given Gillings a contact in the same way that y'all had a contact with Stephanie while she was there, so that you can sort of contact someone directly and we sort of will take you from there. And it's one of those unique circumstances where it was an unexpected out, so we tried to sort of patch it through as best we can. But for anyone, we try and make our services as accessible as we can. So if someone wants to initiate services, they can simply come to our walk-in hours, which are Monday through Friday from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4. That being said, our doors are open from 8 to 5. And so if you need a time at noon, if you need a time at 8:15, if you need a time at 4:30, we can accommodate that. From start to finish, we can usually get you in and out in about an hour from that initial assessment, and you'll leave with a plan. If you can't walk in because you only have sort of a brief amount of time, you can also call in and do a phone screen. So we have the ability to do it remotely. So yeah, our goal is to just sort of try and open the doors as much as we can, knowing the limitations of we only work 8 to 5, or sometimes come here after. Yeah.
Joel, I see you have a question on Zoom. You can go ahead and unmute and ask.
Yeah, thank you. This is Joel from epidemiology, also in Gillings. I'm curious to hear your
Quiet.
thoughts
Hold on
on-
one second, Joel. I'm going to try to make it. I'm so sorry. We can't hear you in the room, and I want to make sure we can hear your question. I think it was just coming out of my laptop.
It's just playing through your laptop.
Okay, I'm going to figure that out. Someone over here had a question. I'm going to give this to you, and I'm going to try to figure that out.
Yeah, I think Joel might
touch on this. I'm Jake Diana, Director of Health and Wellness. In response to your embedded counselor at Gillings, I followed up with Charlotta Sims, who is Director of Student Affairs at Gillings. She mentioned that she had approved that the program had approved funds for a second embedded counselor.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, we just launched that search last week.
Great.
Yep.
All right. Just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
give this back to Katie.
Yeah.
Okay, Joel, try again. We tried to crank up the volume and see if that helps.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me? No?
No, 1 second. Okay, now try.
Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Yay! Perfect, thank you.
Perfect. Great. So my question is in relation to the recent lockdowns that we had earlier this semester. How would you describe CAP's response to those events and kind of what is the plan looking forward in the case that we do have another lockdown?
Well, that's a great question. The first question is easy to answer. So the CAPS, when events happen on campus that impact a large swath of the population, CAPS sort of stops what we're doing and we go out and respond. So the day of the shooting, we were actually over in the Genome building because that's where we were asked to be because there were some folks specifically impacted there. We walked over there before the lockdown was actually over. We got a police escort to go over. In the days subsequent, we stopped our normal operations and we set up different drop-in spaces across campus. So we had one on the main part of campus, one on South Campus, and then beefed up folks that actually came into CAPS and just simply were available for any student that wanted to talk. We made ourselves available in subsequent days to different specific areas of campus that were impacted. So different groups or classes, there were some really specific needs. And so we met those as well. Our embedded counselors that were within specific schools also offered specific services to those students. We did the same thing after the second lockdown, just in an abbreviated way due to demand. So we also offered drop-in spaces, but had significantly fewer students that took advantage of them, so went back to sort of normal operations. Since then, we've continued to sort of respond as we hear is needed. So it's been a lot of one-on-one with students have been uniquely impacted and come in and talk to us. And again, as we've heard about groups that may have a need, we've responded to those as we could. Oh gosh, the tough question is what to do if this happens in the future. And the real answer is, or the honest answer is, I don't know, because each event is going, look, first off, I hope that this never happens again, but I said that in August. And then as we all know, 2 weeks later, we were sort of in it again. But anytime an event happens on this campus that impacts a lot of people, we're going to respond based on what that need looks like. So what this response looked like was different than the last time we had a big event that needed a response. And it will look different than the next one. Our goal is to support the student community in the ways that are needed. And we will listen to the folks impacted if and when that is to happen to figure out what's needed. I hope that answered your question.
It does, thank you. And I'm just curious as a follow-up. Have you identified any gaps within CAPS in the response or kind of the action plans, et cetera? And how do we plan on addressing those?
No, it's a good question. So I'm wanting to be really thoughtful of it. You know, I think not necessarily gaps, but I think we noticed that maybe we didn't all know exactly what to do when our building went on lockdown, because some people were in with students and some weren't. And so just having some conversations about how to make sure everyone feels safe within our building, and to make sure that students are cared for if they are within our building when that happens. You know, I do think we stay pretty connected within the campus community when these things happen. So we're not making decisions about how to respond on our own, but we're really in conversation with campus partners that may be getting different information than we are. Yeah, and we'll always want to be paying attention to that and make sure that we're doing what folks need.
Excellent, thank you. And then I have one last question, I'm sorry, which is related to like, what does your partnership look like with university leadership, and have they asked for input from CAPS and kind of in the response and in terms of the utilization of services? How can CAPS be improved as a program, et cetera?
Yeah. Good question. So yes, we are in really good communication with campus leadership, and that's kind of all the way up. We're part of student affairs. So certainly that is our main method of communication, but when giant events happen, we are in communication with everyone up through the chancellor's office about what response looks like and what need looks like. So we were, several times a day kind of making folks aware of sort of what we were seeing and what the impact looked like, and what support was looking like or was needing. And then we were getting that information from other partners on campus, like housing and dean of students and other folks that are really involved. In terms of ways that CAPS can improve, we are constantly kind of trying to think of ways that we can most maximize our resources to serve as many students as possible. We want to meet the needs that we know about, but we also want to meet the needs that students may be aware of that we're not. So there are often times where students will come to us and say, gosh, we really need a group for this. And we'll work to start one, or we're really needing, you know, the embedded counselor sort of came out of that. Our multicultural health program came out of that, out of students really advocating for resources that looked like things that went outside of CAPS. We realized that there were underserved students on this campus that weren't coming through our doors, and we needed to do a better job of getting to them. So we'll continue to look for those things and look to sort of change and grow in those ways.
Awesome. I think we probably are going to be out of time, unfortunately, because we have a couple other things to do today, but I definitely want to say thank you so much for coming, because I think that was super helpful.
Sure. And as folks have maybe questions that come up that I didn't get to, or things that you're hearing, you can always feel free to email me or contact me at CAPS, and would love to hear the things that y'all are hearing about, or things that that y'all have questions about.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And if anyone didn't get any like specific information, it will be in the minutes. So don't panic if you didn't get everything written down. Well, you'll have it there as well. So awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and invite up our next speaker as well, who is going to be Jake from the chemistry department. And I'm gonna pull up your PowerPoint here. And we'll try to keep this.
Yeah, sure. We planned on.
Okay, cool. And you can just, this should, oh, I didn't share it. Hold on.
I have a Frocket. I don't.
So you can just click through it on my computer.
That's spectacular. Awesome.
Okay.
All
It's all
right.
yours.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. It's a perfect segue from Avery, I think, because the topic of the hour is exactly what we're talking about. My name's Jake. I'm from the chemistry department. This is Caitlin Johnson. She is also from the chemistry department, joint with BBSP. And we are two of the three co-founders of the chemistry department's joint wellness team. For the past few months, really starting in August, after the events of the end of August, we've been really trying to get an embedded wellness counselor for the 12 natural science departments. We've been attempting to work from the administrative side to do so. And like Avery said, we need financing from them. And yes, College of Arts and Sciences specifically. And they have not been, they've been a little hesitant to give that forward. So we are sending an open letter to the provost, which I will go through some details about shortly. We're currently at about 150 signatures, but we would like to ask you all as senators to support this cause and to maybe reach out to your constituents to sign this open letter. So I'll just get started. Avery really hit the nail on the bed. UNC CAPS has their own embedded wellness counselor system. This is their little brief blurb from their website, and Avery said there's now about 7 on the website. There's 5 listed. You'll notice most of them, with the exception of law, are somehow associated with the School of Medicine. And journalism, I forgot about that. NCSU also has their own embedded wellness counselor system, and at NCSU, every college has at least one, and the graduate school has one independently as well. These are some quotes on why mental wellness is important. I don't think this is the crowd where I really need to preach that, but in case you would like some quotes, here's Holden Thorpe, one of our ex-chancellors and the current editor-in-chief of science, as well as the president of Dartmouth, speaking on how mental wellness is important for grad students and postdocs. A couple months ago, AmWise, which is the Alliance of Minorities and Women in Science and Engineering, did a climate survey and found that most grad students were really highlighting the isolation aspect here, and also the how to deal with conflict and have someone to talk to about that. And a large majority of grad students and postdocs feel somewhat uncomfortable, if not more, with that. And having an embedded wellness counselor, not only for advisorial issues, but also for wellness and for how do I balance work and life and that sort of thing, where that counselor is really zoomed in on our well-being and not just general well-being, but how do we help most grad students and postdocs, is something that's really appealing. So from that, this is 2 links here. We are currently calling for this for the 12 natural science and mathematics departments, which account for over 1,000, thank you, grad students and postdocs. The chemistry department alone has 300 plus. We are currently sitting, as I said, oh, thank you, at 150 signatures. We would like to get it as close to 1,000, if not more, as possible. Support from other departments would also be absolutely lovely. At NCSU, their embedded counselor system started solely in the physics department and then spread to the entire university. So our thought process is, if we can get this at least for the 12 biggest departments in terms of just raw numbers, hopefully we can get this to spread as far and wide as possible. The open letter is, if you scan this, currently open for anyone to read and sign. We also have a QR code here for how we would suggest reaching out to constituents via email. If you do so, we would highly suggest making your email high priority. All this does is change the email from going to others potentially to ensuring that it goes to focused. The only other change is the email will have a red exclamation point next to it. There's no like critical information shared or anything like that. As well as in that first QR link, we have the original email that we sent out to the 12 departments. We would be so grateful for your support, and any questions you may have. Caitlin, do you have anything to add?
We did already share this with the DGSs of all of the 12 natural science departments in the College of Arts and Sciences, but support from your position as students would also be very valuable. Hopefully, you sharing this with your constituents would be, giving the people in these departments a little more empowerment. Yep.
For reference, we sent out a test email from Joe, what was it, 2 days ago? Oh, wow. Okay. But whenever you sent that reminder email, I checked the signatures this morning. We had 20 plus signatures in the last 2 days from physics. So your guys' word means a lot to other grad students and postdocs, and we would very much appreciate your support. With that, I also want to highlight, so the people bolded in blue are the head of the joint wellness team right now, but we have also been working on this as well as just general wellness with all the people shown here, a bunch of senators who you may recognize, Lauren, Jackson, and Joe, as well as Laura, who's a postdoc, and Christina, who's a lab manager in pharmacology. And if you have any interest in helping at all, please feel free to reach out to any of us. Oh yeah, sorry, we'll keep that back up. And with that, I'd love to take any questions if anyone has.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm right here in the front.
Oh, hello, Kitty.
Hello. So I have a question. I think this is great. I'm super pumped that y'all are doing this. Also, just for reference, I will send this in the announcement email for all of you to send to your constituents. So don't feel like you got to take a picture with your phone. I mean, you could sign it right now, but if I will make sure that you have a copy of this to send to your constituents later this week. A question I have you had any conversations with any of the departments that are in the School of Medicine about this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We as the JWT have or have not, I don't believe
Not
so.
specifically us, but more of, so this actually started with more faculty led in our department, and they've been in discussion with the individuals in med school. The issue for us is really funding, not as,
Yeah.
100%. No, I completely, I understand it's a different situation. I was just curious because I know that the School of Medicine, some of the departments could really use this as well. So
100%.
I'm excited to see where this goes. And
for reference, this was told to us by faculty, so please take that as is. But the School of Medicine took out funding directly from their yearly budget for this pharmacy. Thank you. So that would be ideal. Like that would be one example of how we get funded. And as Avery said, it has to come from departmental funding. It can't come from CAPS. So that's why we would really like to push administration to make this a priority, as it needs to come from them in the end.
awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I don't know if you people.
I was turned around, so I saw Lauren first.
Did you say you got rejected for funding?
We didn't get outright rejected, more like we don't want to speak about this right now.
Is that the only response you got, or did they elaborate with further details why they refused to speak about it?
So I don't know about from the faculty perspective. From our perspective, meeting with the deans and such, it's more like every time we bring it up, they don't think it should be a priority at the moment, and they think we should prioritize elsewhere.
Have you talked to any people in the graduate school, like Kate McNulty or Laura Thorpe?
So we have not, have we talked to Kate? No, we have not talked to Kate McNulty about this. We've talked to Mary Beth Davis, who is that Beth I got my names mixed up. Who is the dean, as well as some of the deans in the School of Arts and Sciences. And that is where the conversations have gone so far. I'm not sure about again, the chemistry faculty has also been trying to approach this. I'm not sure who the faculty have spoken to, but from the student perspective, that is who we have spoken to so far. And that has been about bi-weekly meetings.
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
I'm gonna go from the low and then around. Okay.
Hello, thanks for coming tonight. I was curious if you've engaged yet with the student advisory committees to the chancellor, provost, or dean of the College of Arts and Sciences yet.
So we have engaged with the chancellor. We have not engaged, as far as I'm aware, with the student committees so far.
Okay. Maybe we can, one of those committees meets tomorrow with the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, so I can see if maybe we can make a late agenda change.
Yeah, and if we can help in any way, please let us know. We'll make time.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I'm Jonathan. I'm with the Department of Geography and Environment in the College of Arts and Sciences.
Lovely.
And I just signed the open letter, but I was wondering if you added a slot for undergraduates to sign on who are maybe considering here for grad school, would that be something that would benefit this cause?
I think that would benefit this cause amazingly. In the open letter right now, we have where when you put in your position, you can put in other, and we have had, I believe, 1 or 2 undergrads sign But we can also put in an explicit option for undergrads who are considering the school.
I think given that some of these committees and other places where this will spread have some undergraduate representation on it, and we are an institution where people will sometimes stay here for graduate school. If we can use the undergraduate voice as a means of this will help solidify this as a choice for graduate school for me, I think that's a leveraging point that we can use.
I think
So
that's a
I
great
personally
idea.
would love to see a specific dedicated undergraduate slot on that form.
We can do that in 2 minutes. That's a great idea, Jonathan. Yeah.
Anyone over here? I'm going up around.
Oh, no.
Anyone?
Hello, I think I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Kind of want to get some clarification before I ask my other question, but first, do you have an idea or have you been told what the biggest hindrance is? Is it just not a priority? Is it funding? Is there some other reasons why?
I wish I had a definitive answer for you. We've heard a few different things from different people, depending on if it's been the faculty who's been going to them or the committee that I showed of other students and postdocs who have been trying to tackle this. My big takeaway is that it is either a funding issue or, as I said earlier, that they don't think it's a main priority. It's also, I believe, that the administration is a little fearful that of the thank you, the bureaucratic noise that it might make, showing that the justification doesn't click well for me, but that politically, if we hire on a wellness counselor after the events of August and 2 weeks later, that it could somehow show as negative politically. Yeah, that UNC is at fault for the events that occurred and the legal ramifications of that.
I
Yeah.
mean, I probably agree with you. I imagine that that's like a totally irrational, unjustified response. Like, if we have the example of other colleges and
yes.
departments, right? And you could even frame it as a prophylactic measure to ensure like future student
That's
mental
who
health,
we've been
health and
attempting to, yeah.
wellness. But have you tried more like quote unquote aggressive manners, such as like protesting? I mean, if it's the funding issue that you think might be a large contributing factor, maybe submitting like a FOIA request and trying to identify sources of funding over a series of years that you could potentially use like as a demonstration.
Protested and we've not tried a FOIA request. The chemistry department specifically, this has been going on, you know, we're expanding this now to the entire college, but the chemistry department actually went and asked donors for money. So that's one way we're trying to overcome this, by going around administration and asking donors for money. That doesn't quite work for the whole College of Arts and Sciences, but that's one approach that we've used to kind of overcome that limitation.
Have you guys been reaching out to the alumni chapters?
That's a great idea. We have not reached out to the alumni chapters. That's a great idea. So far, the open letter directly to the provost is, I would say, the most aggressive form that we have taken. Depending on, at least my thought process for right now is, in terms of protests or anything along those lines, we would like to see the provost's response before we take it any farther.
Yeah.
But that doesn't exclude us from contacting other organizations. And I think the alumni associations is a great place to inquire and also get funding for this and support. So I appreciate that a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're all graduate students. I would leverage that and the services for it. So if there's like legal things that you want to endeavor, such as like submitting a FOIA request, which is not that hard, and I don't think that's like all that aggressive because it is a public institution, like
100%.
using the student services or trying to connect with other grad students. So it's another learning opportunity might be something, and I'd be happy to workshop and talk with you about other ideas later.
Yeah, that'd be great. If you want to, we can get contact information after this. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, I know there were more questions. I do want to say, I imagine there's a few people in the room who may want to be involved in this.
Sure.
Is there something they could do to contact you or figure out what to do?
So on this slide here, contact anyone here. I can send you all of our contact information to append to this because I didn't put it into this, Katie, and I apologize for
That's
that.
okay. You can send it to me in an email too, and I'll amend it onto the announcements
That'd
and
be
like
perfect.
anything you want.
But yeah, if
I
you
don't have it.
please feel free to contact me or Caitlin, but also if you're more comfortable contacting a fellow senator like Lauren Jackson or Joe, they will get us all in contact as well. And we have currently been meeting bi-weekly to discuss these initiatives. So yes, we would love to have extra hands on this.
Cool. Did you have a question? I don't know why I thought you had your hand up. Anyone else on this side? See Luke down here. Okay. Getting my steps in.
Thank you. Really quick question. How many students would say if we were to reach our goal here and get an embedded counselor, how many students and faculty, do you have like a number of how many people this counselor would be serving?
So if it was to serve all the grad students and postdocs in the 12 natural science and mathematics departments, our estimation is over 1,000 students, postdocs. The chemistry department alone, which is one of the, if not biggest grad student postdoc department, has 300 plus. The smallest department in those, I think, has somewhere between 20 to 50. So somewhere around 1,000 to 1,500 is our estimate.
Okay. Follow-up question. The slide you had up earlier that showed the other schools with embedded counselors.
Yes.
This is my first night hearing about embedded counselors,
Yes.
so this is fairly new information to me. But do you know how many, in general, how many students they're serving? So like, I'm imagining it's probably not asking too much to have one person to serve over 1,000 people.
Yeah. We have not directly, I know Dorothy has tried to inquire directly to the embedded counselors, and CAPS, understandably so, is hesitant to give out analytics about their who they work with. But I'm sure we could look up those departments independent of the embedded counselor and find out a rough number of graduate student postdocs. My guess would be somewhere around the same range.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. I think. Wait, no, wait. They can't hear you. Hold on.
The law school has 760 and we have one counselor.
Thank you.
So
Great.
Yeah, just to add on to that, like even though the total number of students and potentially postdocs they'd be serving, only a fraction of those would utilize that service.
Absolutely.
And I imagine the goal is to alleviate strain on the system, right? And provide more access. So like any bodies help.
Yep. I 100% agree.
I guess I don't know if this was specifically said, but the idea is also that this person would rotate throughout these departments, so they would be in your department once a week or once every other week.
That's at least how it works at NCSU. I'm not sure if that's how it works with the already installed embedded counselors here. But with our contacts in the physics department at NCSU, that's what they have said.
yeah. Did you say you reached out to the directors of graduate studies in these departments? Gotcha. And how long has it been since you did that?
We reached out to them at the beginning of the week, first thing.
At the beginning of this week.
This week. Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Like yesterday or 8 days ago?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. I was just curious. I'm from one of these departments. I haven't heard about this until right now. So
we've only heard back from one director, but based on the analytics and the statistics of the letter, it does seem like one other department director of grad student studies has sent it out. Otherwise, we have not heard back from the other 10.
I see. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say they had a busy Monday.
Yeah.
I recognize there's more questions, but we do kind of need to move on. And so I want to go ahead and just say, like, if you have any other questions, you can direct them to me and I'm happy to direct them, or if you want to contact them directly, feel free to do that.
Oh, no.
Were
I'm
there
so
any
sorry.
hands
There
raised in
was-
the chat? I didn't see any. Yeah, I can't read the chat, so if you have a question,
Oh,
you gotta
thank
raise
you
your
so
hand.
much. So BBSP has 100, and I know from Caitlin as well, who is in BBSP, that BBSP also has an embedded wellness counselor. I don't know if they're part of
That's
BBSP.
what they're saying. BBSP really only covers your first year, so we're not sure if you can go
Oh,
to that service after
gotcha.
your first year.
I see Kendall has your hand raised, so why don't you go ahead and then that'll be our last question.
Perfect.
Hi, can you guys hear me in there?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, not a question, just a comment, but where you're working with estimates for populations, you could consider looking at the office, what is it called? Office for Institutional Research and Assessment, publicly searchable database where you can look up analytic reports that include enrollment, and you can sort by unit and also degree track. I think it's offset by one academic year, so you wouldn't have current data, but you would have data from the previous enrollment. That would give you a more a more sure estimate versus just, the anecdotal, we have this many in our cohort versus that many in this program. I'll drop that link in the chat for you too.
Thank you so much. That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
I use it all the time. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go ahead and thank our speakers for
Thank you
coming. Also, I know this is a topic that we could go all day about. I'm really excited to hear that everyone is interested in talking. I love microphones. I know everyone's very excited to want to talk on this. And so I'm sure if there's interest to maybe Lauren and we could have a conversation about finding another space for us to talk about, like invite you all to come and talk about this more. I think, this is a fresh and new. And so I think it's going as quick as it can. And so the more you all are, interested in getting involved, I think the more opportunities we can create. So, I think we now are going to move on to open forum. And these should be quite speedy. I have 2 people that signed up to speak at open forum. I believe open forum is limited to 2 minutes. Is that right, Joshua? Is it 2 minutes? I can Google it. I'm pretty sure it's 2 minutes. Either way, whatever. It's fairly short, so we should get through this pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with Kendall. I've got your slide here. Go ahead.
Great, thanks. I'm Kendall Winter Musicology, and I'm talking to you about Senate Bill 54005, the Better Town Hall Bill, which has been on the agenda for the GPSG Senate meetings in September and October. And at both meetings, the bill was discussed at length and ultimately postponed by majority vote of the Senate. As the bill's sponsor, I elected not to bring the bill to the agenda today, and I'm here to tell you why. The Rules and Judiciary Committee, on which I serve, reviewed the bill during its October meeting. 4 other senators attended that meeting and spoke out about the bill. Though none of them expressed support for the bill in its current form, all of them did express sincere interest in collaborating on a modified Better Town Hall bill, which I'm happy to do. Moreover, I am formally extending that invitation to collaborate to any other interested senators. The future of the Better Town Hall bill is this. The members of R&J have graciously agreed to hold a special session on Tuesday, November 28th at 6 p.m. dedicated exclusively to workshopping this bill. The goal is to arrive at a compromise wherein town halls will meet the needs of both our constituents and our organization, while respecting senators' time and their expert knowledge to communicate with their constituents in ways that are effective for their community. The meeting will use our regular Zoom link, which is published on the GPSG Canvas site. Anyone, but especially those who are unable to attend the meeting, can also express their opinions on the current bill or offer ideas for revisions by completing the Google form linked on the slide no later than November 26th. This will allow us to review and consider all submissions prior to the meeting. The Better Town Hall bill will then appear on a Senate agenda as soon as possible after the special session and its revisions and formal review and recommendation by R&J. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kendall. We have time for like a question if there's any logistical questions? Nope. All right. Thank you so much, Kendall, for that. Next up, Fernando is going to be speaking about a couple of things. So Fernando, go ahead.
Thank you. So this is Fernando Quijano from PhD in Business Administration. I am at this moment probably what still remains in the Senate of last year's ad hoc committee for UNC Connect. UNC Connect being the Slack server that we were able to get exclusively for connecting graduate and professional students to other graduate and professional students. And it is something that thankfully GPSG has been supporting, and I think most of us now are on to discuss things about the Senate. I am planning on developing a bill to propose creating a new standing committee that would be a connection committee that at this moment would not only focus on running and managing and growing UNC Connect, but also any other type of connection initiatives amongst students. And I want to use this moment in time to mostly just ask any senators that might be interested in joining me in drafting this initial bill and presenting it to please contact me. It's mostly in part because I would like to get some movement on this so we can leverage some initial momentum we have to keep growing it and hopefully reach as much of our student population as possible. But I'm also currently studying for comps, which I have towards the end of next week. And I could really use some support and other people joining me to draft this to hopefully be able to present it next meeting in December. So in short, hoping that anyone who'd be interested in helping me write a bill to create a standing committee that will focus on connection among graduate students at this moment, helping run and grow and develop ideas on how to do it about UNC Connect, the Slack platform that we currently have available for all students. Thanks.
And I will put this in the announcements just to remind you all. And I'll put Fernando's email in there, the one that I'll do your fancy one, not your regular UNC one, so that I know that's when you check. And I'll put that in there. So if you all need his contact information, I'll say this is something that I've also helped work on. And so I'll just say that I think it's gonna be really exciting. And so if you're interested in working on, those types of student connection programs and activities, this will be, I think, a really good opportunity. So that is the end of open forum. The next thing we're gonna do is a very quick period of nomination for a couple of vacancies that we have in our current standing committees. So I know we have quite a few new senators here today. So if you're like really loving this and you want more Senate, this would be a great opportunity to do a little bit more involvement. I'll speak on it very, very quickly because I know we've done this a couple times. Anyone interested in nominating themselves can do that on the floor for any of these committees. You have the opportunity to adjust your nominations when we close. The Senate, we will vote by ballot if necessary. If not, we can just vote by unanimous consent. And if necessary, well, that doesn't apply to this today. So, okay, so we have 6 committees. I'm going to just talk about the 2 that have open seats. The first is the Finance Committee. The Finance Committee is in charge of considering the budget for all of GPSG, maintains financial aspects, approves town hall funding, and just generally works with the sort of financial regulations of GPSG. The other opening we have is in Oversight and Accountability. This committee is in charge of overseeing officers and appointments to many positions, including executive positions, some executive positions, and they're the ones that do interviews and also would be in charge of sort of doing general oversight over positions that already exist. These, just for reference, these 2 committees both meet once a month for a 1 to 2 hour meeting, depending on how busy they are, and some other little things like that. So we have 2 seats, 1 in each of these committees. So I'm now going to just have an open call for any volunteers for self-nomination to either of these committees. Also on Zoom, you can raise your hand if you would like to self-nominate as well, and hopefully I can see that too. Sure. How long do you serve on these committees? Good question. So the question was, how long do you serve on these committees? So it's through the end of your term. So it would be both this semester and next semester. The time commitment is about, I would say, between an hour and 2 hour meeting that you would have once a month, kind of different than this meeting. And then with these 2 particular committees, I don't think there's a ton of outside of the committee work other than just some chatting and messages occasionally. So, maybe at most you could call it a 3 hour a month commitment. I will also say being part of these committees does give you participation points that helps your department get more allocation funding at the end of the year. Oversight and accountability meets in the last Wednesday of the month. I believe you. Yes. Cool. Thank you for that information. Yes. Okay. Here, I'm gonna pass this microphone. Does someone want to help me with the microphone? I don't want to nominate you, but thank you.
Test.
So, so I would like to nominate myself for the oversight and accountability.
Awesome. Can you just say your name and your unit?
Alexander Stumpf, history.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much for that nomination. I see a hand up here as well.
Hello, I'll nominate myself for the finance committee.
All
My
right.
name is Owen Courtney from chemistry.
Awesome. Thank you. I am watching it. I'm watching for hands. I can't monitor the chat, so. Yeah, we're what? Yep, we're watching it. Thank you. Last call. All right. I hear a motion to approve the nominations for these two senators for these two seats?
So moved.
Seconded. Thank you. Do I have any objections? All right. Congrats. Awesome. I will contact you all and get you connected with your committee. So don't panic if you don't know what to do. I will let you know what to do. Thank you so much for doing that. It's awesome. Ooh, okay. Good job, everyone. We finally filled out the seats. I'm so proud of us. Question? Was there? Oh, I thought, okay. It was awesome. Okay, we're now moving on to legislation. This is gonna be quick today. We have two pieces of legislation today. First, we're gonna start with 54-012 and act to fund travel awards for cycle 2 that closed October 27th, 2023. Nick, are you here to introduce?
Yeah,
okay,
I'm here. I
go
can
ahead.
introduce it. Yeah, so this is our traditional travel bill. In the last cycle, we had 26 applications. Of those, we are awarding 8 of them for a total of $4,900 this month. And I think when we look at our budget, and I don't think you guys can see it here right now, but we're in pretty good shape. We still have a remaining budget of about $20,000 for the rest of the year, which puts us in pretty good shape for the set of inquiries that will definitely come in coming January, February, March, which is when we start to really pick it up. So I think the applications we funded were really, really good, and I'm glad that we funded them. So I would recommend everyone to obviously vote and approve this bill. And I'm happy to take any questions you guys might have.
Kendall, go ahead while I'm gonna open this so everyone can see it, but you go ahead with your question.
Sure. Kendall Winter Musicology. I love that we're getting more applicants for the travel awards. 8 of 26 being funded is like 30%. So I'm wondering if the travel awards committee has any plans this year to revise its current criteria for grading those applications, which from my experience on summer governance this year, there is room for improvement in terms of its like subjectivity, room for interpretation.
Correct. Yeah. And that's a great point, Kendall, you brought up, and I'm glad you brought it up. This is something last year's travel committee discussed. I don't know if everyone knows, but Senator Audrey Pereira out of public policy, who's now, I believe, former senator, had initially proposed some ideas. We've worked through it last year. This year's committee, we have yet to actually touch through some of the things we had to work through on it, because I totally agree with you. That grading criteria could be revised entirely. I think the last time it was touched was like 2017 or 18 is the version we're working with. The problem that we run into is this, and this has been one of the apprehensions that we've had, is how do we switch midway through the semester, grading one group of people on one criteria and then grouping another on a different criteria? I think the best way possible is finish this year with the kind of wonky grading system that we currently have, and then implement a better one for the upcoming year in travel committee. And so, I think our travel committee meetings are open for everyone. Everyone's welcome to attend. And I'd be happy to have anyone who wants to talk about any proposed potential grading criterias. We have one in place, but I think it needs some more tweaking and refinement, which is kind of where we had left it last year.
Yeah, thanks. Can I ask a follow-up question?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I wasn't sure if I need permission for that from you or from Katie.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess my follow-up question is, yeah, it does make sense not to implement new criteria midway through the year, especially because I know there are some people who apply 2 or 3 times early enough. They might be getting different criteria from one application to the
Correct,
next.
yep.
That seems fair. I wonder, does the Travel Awards Committee have the bandwidth between now and the end of the year or summertime to manage both tasks, right? Is there enough bandwidth to review applications that come in using the criteria that is already at hand and develop a proposal for best practices that could perhaps be seen by the Senate on our April meeting, which is when we tend to set things in motion for the next year, you know, with our budget, things like that. We could sort of say, next year when we convene, this is what's going to be happening. Is there?
Yeah, I
could you
think that's
speak
a
to that?
great idea, Kendall, on that. I mean, I'm hoping November and December kind of drop off a bit in some of the applications from what we normally get. And I think that's partially to do with holidays. And
Right.
most of the conferences are then starting to come up again next year and people start applying later on in like January, February, March. I'm hopeful that we could have some time to do that in the later part of the year. I would hate to defer it off to summer governance. I think that would be a travesty to put that on
Yeah.
summer. I think travel committee definitely has the best grasp of it. And I say that because as we review more and more of these, I think you kind of get a better sense of like, okay, this is what it really should be doing and this is how it really should be operating. And I think with that in mind, I would like to have travel do as much of it as they
Yeah.
potentially can. So like I said, Kendall, you're always welcome to attend whenever you'd like, and I'm happy to share with you our proposed, Audrey worked a ton on trying to get it into some shape on it. And I think there's enough meat on the bone on that where we can actually really, kind of bite into it and get it going. I think we're close to it. If I had to use another football reference, I would say we're in the red zone, but we're not ready to go for the touchdown on that one yet. But I think we're close. I think it just needs some, finishing, polishing kind of a thing, and then get a review or two to take a look at it and criticize it.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's kind of where we're at. So I'd love it if you have some input. I'm happy to share it with you and then we can go from there.
Well, sure, I'd be happy to look at it, but I think better than just sending it to me for me to look at it, perhaps we could get that in the Canvas site for all the senators to review and look at and weigh in on, maybe.
Yeah, we can put it on Canvas, and I would encourage anyone to come to. We haven't set our next travel meeting, but when we do, it'll be on Canvas. I'd encourage anyone who wants to come. We can do at the beginning of the meeting like an open forum and let anyone ask any questions or share any thoughts that they have on the matter.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Any other questions you guys have?
Nothing? All right. Thank you so much, Nick, for
thanks, Liz.
that presentation. Okay, next is going to be 54-013, the October appropriations bill. Who's presenting that today? Do you mind running that microphone over to Riley? Right there. Thank you.
All right, much like travel awards, this is just your regularly scheduled programming for appropriations. This month we received 10 applicants and we approved all 10, at least partially. And we spent a total of $7,860.50 in this cycle. I'm happy to take any questions anyone has about the bill.
Beautiful presentation. Oh, is there one? I see Kendall. Go ahead, Kendall.
Hi, Kendall Winter Musicology. I had emailed you about this also, but I was wondering if you could quickly rattle off some of these acronyms for us so that we know who's getting funded. I only recognize, I think the Black Graduate Professional Student Association is one that I recognize, but I'm not sure that I know some of these other ones.
Yes, give me 1 second to pull up our agenda. . All right.
Was not working. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask. Thank you. Okay, yes. So first we have the First Amendment law review. Next we have ICMA, which is International City County Managers Association. The third one is the Black Graduate Student Professional Student Organization. Winspire, I actually don't know their full title. I know that Samantha Beck, who's on Zoom, I think knows, but it's Women in STEM.
Yep, so it's women, it is women and underrepresented minorities in STEM. There's more in the IR part, but yeah, basically women and underrepresented minorities. So,
And the Winspire is just WINS is Women in STEM. That's the group, and then Winspire is just their summer program for high school students.
Great, thank you. The Friendsgiving application, that was just by the biostatistics RU, I believe. And then the immigration law application was from an immigration law club, I believe. And I don't have the abbreviation for the one above that for the, but it was for the pharmacy school.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Okie dokie. Any other questions? Nothing? All right. Good stuff. Okay. So let me go back here to our PowerPoint. That's it. Nice. Keeping it quick and easy. So you should be able to find the ballot on Heal Life. I believe it's open, but if someone wants to double check that it's open. Sweet, thank you. That should be on there. I want to give a reminder, the last couple of meetings, we have had 6 or 7 units that have been in attendance and like signed in, but did not actually completely fill out the ballot. And so please double check that one person only from your unit is filling out the ballot and is getting all the way to the end, like the very, very last step. And because there's quite a few of you now that haven't actually gotten your attendance because you have not actually voted. So if you think you're having issues, like you're not sure what's going on, I'm so happy to help. If you're having, I know we also have some new senators here. So yes. Have I contacted them? I just figured it out a couple days ago and I just didn't have time. If you really want to know, I could look it up in my spreadsheet real quick, if that would be helpful. Yeah, we can do it later. What time is it? 6:45. Okay. I'm gonna say, let me know if you're having an issue, and if you're having an issue, I'm happy to help. But we should be okay. And if it's still a problem, I can contact those centers later. Okay. Now we're moving on to updates. Please go ahead and vote during this time. Again, if you're having a problem, please raise your hand. It's on Heal Life. If you click in the top left corner where the 3 bars are and click on graduate professional student, GPSG, and it should pop up right there. You got it? Okay. I'm going to pass this over to Lauren. The faces, yeah.
All right, thank you, Katie. Just a few updates from my end. my largest focus remains on graduate and professional student well-being. So that's the entire left-hand side of the screen. So the dean of the graduate school, Beth Mayer Davis, is putting together a steering committee and then subsequent subcommittees to serve to really understand and figure out.
Yes, I can.
Can you mute?
Pretty good. That sucks. I got. Oh
Can you
no.
mute? Okay. Anyway, there are subcommittees forming to make sure that we are addressing all of the concerns of graduate and professional students. So members of those subcommittees need to be representative of graduate and professional students. So the plan is to have a subcommittee of addressing RA issues, and then have representatives from STEM and humanities who serve as RAs. And then on the flip side, TAs, and have representatives from STEM and the humanities who serve as TAs. So we're especially in need of RAs from the humanities, and then TAs in both humanities and STEM. We have many RAs in STEM, which I think should tell us something, right? But if you are an RA in humanities or a TA in humanities or STEM, please reach out to me and I will help you get connected to serve on, if you're interested in serving on a subcommittee, to make sure that we're addressing everything that needs to be addressed. Kind of secondary to that, or I guess I'm going to skip all the way down where it says all of our advocacy efforts thus far have been strongly supported by the administration. And when I say the administration, I say Chancellor Guskowitz. I had a really productive meeting with him a couple weeks ago. And he is invested in making things better for graduate and professional students. Dean Mayer Davis of the graduate school, obviously heavily invested. She's creating this steering committee and moving forward. And then I've also had a couple of meetings with associate deans within the College of Arts and Sciences who are also all in and want to help us move this forward. Where this puts us though is, we have support from administration. Sometimes faculty members don't take kindly to being told what to do by administration. And they say, well, the students don't want that. This is just being handed down by, people who are out of touch and blah, blah, blah. So something that we can do to help support this and continue to advocate for ourselves is the creation of this Graduate Student Bill of Rights. So what we're trying to do here is show faculty that there is support from the students and then there's support from administration, and kind of come from both directions here. So I'm going to be meeting with the SOGAPS committee later this month to talk about what to include in the Graduate Student Bill of Rights, and hoping here in the next month or so to have a draft available, and I'll make that available to everyone because I want input from as many people as we can to make this holistic. On the other side here, I've served this last month has been really busy in terms of committee meetings. So TFAT and SFAS, TFAT is Tuition and Fees Advisory Task Force, and SFAT is Student Fee Advisory something subcommittee. Thank you. So TFAT, we talked about both tuition and fees. SFAS is just talking about fees, though we did put forward some recommendations. These are just recommendations. There's no guarantee that these are going to be approved by the Board of Trustees, the Board of Governors, and so on. However, we said that we are in favor of increasing student fees to help support infrastructure, improving the infrastructure of the student union. And then we also were in favor of a small tuition increase for out-of-state undergraduate students and graduate students. Again, really all of these tuition and fees go to the upkeep of the university. And so we need to make sure that we are keeping up with inflation and providing the university with the funds that it needs to support us in the work that we do. So that's kind of where those decisions came from. Sage Aviles, who was here in the first meeting of the year, was approved by GPSG as our Supreme Court justice, was approved by the Joint Governance Council last week. So they are on the court now, and we have a full court for the first time in years. So this is great. Additionally, Lauren Rackley was so kind to forward the email from me earlier this week, or maybe last week, about the interviews for the Director of Financial Wellbeing. This is a brand new position at the university, and they want input from students. So there are 3 candidates who are being interviewed over the next week. You can attend their presentations via Zoom or in person. So I really encourage you, or if you know of constituents who would like to attend, please attend those, give your input. Again, this is a brand new position, so they want to hear from students. And then lastly up here, the Board of Trustees are meeting tomorrow and Thursday. I'll be at those meetings both tomorrow and Thursday. I deliver remarks to the Board of Trustees on Thursday. As with my remarks last Board of Trustees meeting, I'm going to continue to focus on graduate student well-being, and in particular I focused on mental well-being last time, so I want to shift my focus to some of the physical well-being of graduate and professional students, and talk a little bit about the options that we have on campus in terms of recreational facilities and the union. So that's just an update on that. And then I'll have more information from the Board of Trustees at our next meeting. Questions? Joshua? Yeah.
How many unit-specific tuition changes were there through TPAT this year?
So Joshua was asking how many unit specific department. Oh gosh, there weren't very many. It was like law, business, dentistry. And well, one of them was the brand new program. So they'd have to like set their fees. And then I want to say there was one more. I want to say there were 5 total.
That's fine. That's a nice change. Last year there were like 100.
Yeah, no, it was very small, and then the only thing that SFAS had to discuss was the student union request to increase fees. So it was pretty minimal. He asked if how many departments asked for tuition increases. Yep. There were very few, 4 or 5 total. Great. My email's always open, so please get in contact if any questions or concerns come up. Thanks.
Okay, great. Hey everyone. My name's right there, so I'm not gonna introduce myself, but I will try to be very brief. Just have a few updates. So this past week or last week, I had a few meetings with Bubba Cunningham and Vince Isle. They are the UNC athletic director and the senior associate athletic director, respectively. Just spoke about the ways in which student government can continue to engage with Carolina athletics and build those like kind of strategic partnerships. Also met with Veronica. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but she's the president of the university's General Alumni Association, about the best ways that students kind of work with GAA. The GAA is very interested in opening up their space to students, undergrad and graduate as well. So they're working on a campus-wide survey to figure out how we can best just figure out and mold the GAA into a better version of itself. So I'm looking forward to launching that in the coming days. Also just to highlight some of the things also shared by Lauren, we did just complete the tuition and fee review processes and moving into the BOT meetings in the coming days. I'll be touching on the very similar things about our facilities on campus, particularly considering our place as the flagship of the university system. And so figuring out how we can build some concrete plans to get some better resources and facilities here for our students. Also having some conversations about admissions in my BOT space, in the BOT space as well, particularly considering what application readers are going to look like for undergrad admissions, mostly, I believe. So looking forward to those. Lastly, this upcoming Sunday, the executive branch is going to have our mid-year review, which is super exciting. It'll be in the Global Center in the atrium. Chancellor Guswitt's going to be there. Christy Hurt, his chief of staff, is our special guest and our speaker. So that's super, super exciting. yeah, I think that's honestly all. It's just very, very busy with BOT. And I'm taking the LSAT tomorrow, so everyone send me some good energies, por favor. Anyway, any questions from anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. I'm sure we will see you shortly on the other side and in care soon. So, but good luck with your test. Now we're going to do standing committee chair updates. Can you just raise your hand if you're going to give an update? And I'll just go in the room instead of the order of.
All right, yes, this is Riley Stahl Appropriations Committee. I just wanted to share what our balances look like for the remainder of this year. So as of right now, we have $2,600 left in our social appropriations budget. We have $19,874.75 in our general appropriations budget. And then one other thing I want to note is that all appropriations requests for events that will be held between December 10th and January 20th will be due November 14th, because we will not be meeting in December. So any events happening in December or January are due next week. Thank you.
Sweet. Is there, go ahead with a question. Oh, that's just go ahead on Zoom with your update.
Yeah, ZKI oversight and accountability. So our committee didn't have any really new outstanding business. No new confirmations or anything like that. No concerns forwarded to us. So that's, a quick update.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Duncan McLean, Physics and Astronomy. The SOGAPS committee did not consider any resolutions or town hall funding requests in the last meeting. However, we did have some extensive conversations about issues relevant to SOGAPS and legislation that we're interested in talking about and soliciting opinions on. That relates to the state of graduate mental health. We've talked a lot about that, and we have support in committee, and we want to kind of channel support in the general student body, like was mentioned previously, for the embedded counselor program. We also are working with the executive branch on drafts for the graduate and professional student Bill of Rights. And we would like to encourage people, if they have the time and interest, to attend our meeting later this month. I think the current time we're looking at, let me just double check my calendar here. We're not going to be meeting at our typical third Tuesday of the month this week because of Thanksgiving. We're instead going to be meeting on Tuesday the 17th at 4:30. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. That's wrong. Give me just a moment. Sorry, we're going to be meeting this month on Wednesday the 15th at 2:30 to 3:30. So we do encourage people to attend if they can, because we're going to have President Hawkinson there. We're going to talk about things that are desirable, or I'm getting a shaking head. We may have to reschedule that, but we'll update on when we're meeting. We want to talk about these issues that we think they're pretty important. So thank you.
I'll make sure to update everyone on that date too. And it, of course, is always going to be in Canvas with the Zoom link as well. Okay.
Hello, Nicholas Morrison Welch, toxicology, rules and judiciary. So our meeting last month, we talked a little bit about the town hall bill that Kendall brought up and addressed earlier. But primarily we set our schedule and agenda for the items that we'd like to tackle for the rest of this year and next semester. So in future updates and prior to those meetings, I'll let everyone know, or an agenda will be sent out. So anyone who's interested can come. We're going to take a comprehensive look at the code, GPSG code, as is our charge, and address changes to some of or assess any necessary changes that may need to be constructed for some of the positions that are no longer relevant. And then just to reiterate what Kendall said during the open meeting, I believe the 28th, the Tuesday following Thanksgiving, we will have a special session, or we will focus exclusively on the town hall bill, It's probably going to be a little bit more loosely structured so that we can allow people to chime in where appropriate as we work on amending the bill to something that is hopefully passable out of committee and on the Senate floor.
Cool. Thanks so much. Nick, go ahead on Zoom.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no big updates on travel. I think I've given them, so I think we're in good shape. And if anyone has questions, happy to take them. Otherwise, I'd encourage anyone who wants to talk about the grading criteria, come to our next meeting and we'll make sure that's announced.
Cool. Who did we miss? Finance? Is that Joel?
Yeah, thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. So finance updates, no new updates except for the fact that we now have a new senator. Welcome. We have our first meeting tomorrow. Well, we have our monthly meeting tomorrow. I apologize that if given the short notice, but hopefully you can make it. So we'll do some onboarding for the new senator, but then also just in terms of committee business, we have adopted the current threshold of $120 as the threshold for senators seeking funding for town halls. In other words, it doesn't require a full committee review. It would just be reviewed by the committee chair, in which case that would be me. I did receive one request today, so I'll go ahead and review that and get back to that senator. But I guess as we continue to receive additional requests for town hall funding, it'd be greatly appreciated to give the committee at least a week or so to be able to review the materials and get back to you all in the event that it exceeds the $120 threshold. That threshold is up for discussion at the full committee meeting, which will be again tomorrow, and it may or may not stay the same. But that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Yeah.
What time is that finance meeting tomorrow? I think I'd like to attend it. So, and is it on Zoom?
Joel, did you hear that?
Yes, sorry.
You're good.
So yes, it's tomorrow, November 8th at 6 p.m. via Zoom.
I'll make sure that is on Canvas tonight so that you all have access to that Zoom link. I can't remember if I might have already put it on there, but if I didn't, I'll check tonight.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie.
Okay.
This is a question for Senator Stahl. I'm curious if I know your committee was considering trying to combine together social appropriations and general appropriations into a single pool, and I was curious if your committee's made any progress on that yet.
This is something that my vice chair Rob and I discussed at length at our last meeting, and something that we are definitely going to be exploring further and hoping to implement possibly by the spring semester. Yes, combining the two funds.
Thanks.
Okay. Any last comments, questions about standing committees? Nope. Okay, thank you so much for those updates. Okay, the GPSG leadership updates can be found in the same place on Canvas as usual. I really encourage you all to look at those. Has updates from all of the executive team about the things they've been working on, questions, announcements, that kind of stuff. So it's linked here. You can also find it in Canvas. I'm going to go through some quick updates, announcements. First, you've seen some of this before, special R&J session. We already talked about it November 28th at 6 p.m. Additionally, we are going to be having 2 workshops next week. And that is going to be the town hall workshop and the legislation workshop. These are both going to be hybrid, so you can attend both in person in the union and in over Zoom. I just realized I didn't put the time, so let me tell you the time really quick. I'll send you the time because I don't have it on my calendar. So I don't know why I didn't put the time in here. I'm pretty sure I did it for like 5:30, but I'll send it in the announcements. But please put that on your calendar. You get 3 participation points for attending, so you can get a total of 6 just next week, which is huge. They're going to go over the things they're titled with. Let me know if you have any questions. We can talk more. There'll be snacks. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, November 14th and November 16th. I put them in an email. They'll also go in Canvas, and I'll probably send out a reminder email too. Other announcements. Tar Heel Thanksgiving is happening. This is being hosted by the Carolina Club. It's for students who may not be able to go home over break. I will again send this out in the announcements email just to make everyone aware of that. And then lastly, we are headed after this to the State of the University address. That is going to be at the undergraduate Senate meeting that begins at 7:30. We're going to go straight from here. It's going to be in CARE 2001. We will walk as a group. Actually, you don't have to if you don't want to, but we're going to go as a group. The topics are going to be safety at the university, graduate student mental health, and navigating post-affirmative action decision. If you attend in person, I'm going to put out a little attendance sheet. So please make sure you find the attendance sheet and sign in to get your participation point. If you are going to be on Zoom, there is a Zoom, they're going to do it on Zoom. Please, because I don't really have access to that particular Zoom thing. Please just take a screenshot of it on your computer and just email it to me and say, hey, I was there. And I will make sure to get you your participation point. I think that's just the quickest and easiest way. If you're having problems, let me know. I don't even know if they've opened it yet. So I know some people were trying to get it in earlier. It wouldn't work because it has to be opened first, I believe. Are there any questions about that in particular? I see a hand raised on Zoom. If you have a question, go ahead.
Hi, Fernando Quijano from Business PhD. I think it was mostly that I was trying to access the link for Tar Heel Thanksgiving, and I think all the information that's there is from previous years. So I just wanted to confirm that you had like the proper links and information for this year.
I'll check it. I honestly didn't click on it before I put it in here because it was sent to me. I'll check. I'll make sure you all get the right one when I send out the announcements after the meeting. But thanks for letting me know that was weird. I'll fix it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Next Senate meeting is December 5th. We are in CARE finally back in December, so that'll be great. Dates. I think we can close up is anyone not voted? Oh, we can close that. Do you have the results, please?
Yes, one of the bill on sorry, the travel awards bill passed 45 yes, 2 abstains, 0 no. That passes. Appropriations was 46 yes, 1 abstain.
Oh, they can't hear. They both passed.
Both passed resoundingly.
Yes, resoundingly. All right. Do I hear motion to adjourn? Do I hear second? Any objections? All right, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.